Welcome back to the D&D Talk Wrestling Podcast, episode 22.
So for our episode this week, we're doing What If, which is a really cool idea. I'm glad you thought of this idea.
What if?
And it's kind of funny because I was just watching, maybe like 2 weeks ago, the What If episodes of Marvel that are on Disney Plus, and I was like, these are cool. So when you brought it up, I was like, oh, these are going to be fun.
I love What If episodes.
Before we do the What If episode, though, we're going to do our weekly
Taste test.
Taste test. That's the word.
Yeah.
Of the, I don't know how they're going to be, the Hershey Kisses Cinnamon Toast Crunch flavor. I'm a little skeptical on them, but...
A little skeptical? Well, last week knocked that out of the park.
None's ever going to beat last. The only thing that's going to beat last week are the other two flavors. They smell like Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
I thought they were going to be like not wrapped because they're in a bag.
No.
I don't know.
Oh. I smell like Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Yeah.
I don't like white chocolate.
You know, the rumors about us two would be really funny. Tune into our podcast and within the first 3 minutes there's kisses happening.
Okay, these are good.
Are they?
Yeah, they're actually crunchy, like they're graham crackers in it. Yeah, these are good. They got a pass from me.
Oh, those are good.
Yeah, these are going to be a problem.
You like Cinnamon Toast Crunch?
You're going to love these.
Try these bad boys out.
Yeah. I'm already on number 3. This bag's going to be gone by the end of the episode.
I didn't even know these came out. To be honest with you.
I see them at Target every once in a while, but my parents were at Hershey over the weekend, and my mom was like, hey, do you want anything? And usually they have, like, the random Kit Kat flavors. And I was like, hey, do they have any random Kit Kats? Or, I know you're not a fan, but Twizzlers.
Nope, not a licorice guy.
So, she's like, hey, they have any Kit Kats? But they had these, and I was like, cool, these are cool. I've always wanted to try them. I never want to waste my money on them. But yeah, those are good. Those are a pass for me.
And they actually have Cinnamon Toast Crunch bits in it.
Yeah, graham cracker bits, I believe. But yeah,
love it. Love it.
So
that's a thumbs up on my book.
It's an absolute thumbs up for me.
So, what if we never tried those? We wouldn't know how delicious they are. What if certain things happened in the wrestling world? What would have happened? So today, in this episode, it's what wouldn't have happened, and kind of like a little rewriting of wrestling history.
Right.
I would say.
And you've been saying it like all day that you have something you want to throw out there to make this interesting.
So I thought a lot of our episodes, we have come up with ideas, plans, planned it out. So what I said is that Dave has to come up with, well, we both have to kind of like make sure we didn't pick the same moments in wrestling history. So I'm almost 100% positive we have all different moments.
We do, because we wrote them down in our
yeah
text chain message thread, whatever you want to
call it. So we have...
Because I actually went back through and I was like, what one did I say again? I was like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, so did I. We have all these different moments in wrestling history. So I was going to cover this half. He's going to cover that half. So here's a what if to this situation. Now we're still going to get to speak on what we have.
Right.
Here's the twist to make it a little more interesting and a little more off the cuff, if you will, and not pre-planned.
Oh boy.
The situations I wrote down, Dave is going to respond to them first. And then I will give you my thoughts on it.
I like that because...
And the ones that you wrote down, I have to respond to first.
What I assumed we were going to do was, like, let's say... What if... I didn't write this one down, which I should. What if Undertaker never answered the phone when Vince called? I thought I was going to give... I thought I was going to give my stuff, and you were going to go, but this could also happen. And then go, oh yeah, and then this could happen.
Well, yeah.
It's kind of the same thing. I like that idea.
Kind of, but now we're just switching it up a little bit. Now you don't get to hear what I have to say about mine, or I have to hear what you say.
Okay.
And you're not planned for this. You would be planned for your own.
Right.
So that's why I said a little more off the cup, a little more surprising.
I like that.
And I mean... We're not experts, but we do know a lot about wrestling. And I will say, everything that I wrote down, you should know about.
Right. That I feel like that's the same. There might be... No, you should know about all these too. There might be like one or two that you... Because there's... I'm not going to lie. Like, I have bullet points. I have the what if and then a couple... Some of them I have 8 bullet points. Some I have like 2 because I'm like... I don't really know what else. Like, I'm sure other things would happen, but I just couldn't think of them. But you might be like, hey, this could happen. I'm going to go, oh, yeah. And then with that, with this, and then it might get, it might get longer as we go.
Usually happens that way. So, I'm going to start off
Okay.
with number one.
Okay.
One of the most influential factions in wrestling history. A recent faction. The Shield.
Uh-huh.
All 3 members.
Uh-huh.
At the top of the game in the wrestling world.
Correct.
You have your tribal chief, you have your visionary, and you have Mox, who's just dominating AEW.
Bleeds everywhere.
Blood, sweat, and tears.
Hey, there you go.
Guy. What if the Shield never formed?
What if the Shield never formed?
How do you think the trajectory of those 3 careers would have went?
I think, well, one, Ryback might still be there, because then the Ryback Punk stuff wouldn't happen. Not even going to those 3 yet. How would they come up? Oh man, I honestly don't think Ambrose would come up. I think he would have been released in NXT, shockingly, because wasn't there was supposed to be somebody else. No, the original Shield was supposed to be Cassius Ohno was supposed to be in it.
Cassius Ohno, Ambrose, and Rollins.
Right.
Roman wasn't supposed
to be in it, but they realized he was Samoan and went, okay, hold on, wait.
Yeah, we need them in there.
I don't think Ambrose, I think he would have got released, as much as it sucks because he's probably my favorite out of the whole Shield. I think he would have been released in NXT. I don't think he would have came up. I don't think he would have impacted as much as he did.
So do you think Roman and Seth would have reached the heights that they are now?
Roman maybe eventually, just with the whole Samoan thing. I think Seth would have been, this is because it's you, I think Seth would have been stuck in mid-card. I think Seth would have become this generation's Ziggler. And I love Dolph Ziggler.
No, that's the fair assessment.
But I think he would have been this generation's Ziggler. I don't want to say it would have been the same path for Roman, but I think they somehow would have still did the whole Rock coming out at the Rumble to like congratulating him to try to get him over. I think the big dog thing still would have happened. I don't think it would go the same exact way, but I still think they would try to push him, just being the like Samoan of the 3.
Okay, it's funny that you say that because I kind of have the same sentiment. I think Seth might not have been at the main event status because obviously when Shield broke up, he joined up with Hunter.
Right.
He joined up with like Orton and all that stuff, and it kind of skyrocketed him to winning the Money in the Bank, having J&J Security, all that jazz. Roman, I think, eventually would have made it just because of, I mean, he's a fantastic wrestler, but also just because of the family that he's in.
Remember how terrible he was on the mic back then? Holy shit.
Me and yours opinion is kind of the same because once the Shield broke up, it turned into Seth betrayed the Shield, he screwed over Roman. And Ambrose kind of got lost.
Ambrose was because even like when they replay that sometimes they don't even show that part because like it was Seth betraying the Shield, but it was Seth hitting Roman. Seth didn't hit Ambrose.
So the only thing that I agree, maybe Ambrose might not have made it, but I think in the beginning of them separating, he would have been the most popular because he would have just went back to the Jon Moxley character in the Indies. And got his name through the roof. Maybe went to a TNA or something.
Yeah.
And just been him.
That's a good
because
one.
he was already established. I mean, yes, I know Rollins was Tyler Black and he had a really good reputation, but Moxley was Jon Moxley. People knew him.
Right.
So I think that's my opinion anyways.
That's a good one.
The landscape of wrestling now would be insanely different.
That'd be totally different now.
Because if those 3 didn't get to where they are, AEW's top guy, one of their top guys, Moxley.
He might be a top guy for someplace else.
2 of WWE's top 5 guys right now, all came from that same group. So
right, that's a good one. I like that one. I'm gonna skip the main one just because I think there's so many. My main one because there's so many things to go with it. What if WCW wasn't bought out? This is kind of a. We said we were gonna do joke ones, obviously, because it's us. The reasons I have are kind of joke reasons. If what would happen if they weren't bought out.
So my opinion would be, if WCW wasn't bought out, is it still going to be run the same way?
Let me not say, but yeah, correct. I don't think it'd be run the same way, but
Because what led to WCW's destruction to begin with was the guaranteed money, overpaying all those major stars like
Hogan, Hall, and Nash.
Hogan,
basically those three,
and then bringing more and more people in and giving them all this money in the world. You know what? That would be a very interesting dynamic, and I'm gonna say that the ripple effect that it could have had is if WCW stayed as big as it did, as big as WWE is, maybe, you know, neck and neck, battle and ratings all the time, it would have been much harder for AEW to do what they did and become a legit promotion that, I don't want to say rivals, because, like,
that's a good point.
They don't rival each other.
Right.
All the wrestlers are friends, and
right.
unless you're Will Ospreay. But, like, to have another big promotion right next to it, I think it would have been harder for AEW to get on the ground running when there was already the two big options in WCW and WWE. So, like, are you gonna... I mean, I know the Khan family has a ton of money, but, like, are you gonna go to these two big places, or are you gonna take your chance on a smaller one, kind of like a TNA?
I feel like they'd be
kind of like that.
AEW. I didn't even think about that part. I feel like AEW would be challenging, would be battling like TNA almost for like the top.
Because right now you could literally say
company.
AEW. Maybe they don't have the global outreach as WWE has.
They were just in Mexico last night. It was sold out.
But they are the closest thing to competition to WWE.
Right.
They're the closest thing to their level. So would AEW been able to pull that off? It doesn't matter that Khan was there. It doesn't matter about the Bucks and Cody and everything. Because what if Cody would have had a better opportunity to go to WCW? Especially where his father was.
I mean, that was his father's territory.
The Bucks never wanted to really go to WWE, so what if they went to WCW? You know, like, you don't know what could have happened in the process.
Right.
You still would have had your huge stars like Sting and Goldberg and stuff. Now what would have happened to TNA?
Oh, that's a good one, yeah.
Because Sting had a great run in TNA.
I love Joker. Joker Sting is my favorite Sting.
So you're telling me when Kurt Angle was done, would he have gone to... Maybe he would have went to
maybe
WCW.
He would have went to WCW. Maybe that would have collapsed TNA.
Yeah, maybe TNA wouldn't be around now, or they would be down to where like a Ring of Honor was.
Yeah,
you know, like just kind of like I don't want to say a lower indie, but like the highest form of indies.
Right, the highest indie.
So I think that ripple effect would be massive.
That's actually really good. So what I have, Flair would be a 20-time world champ.
Okay, that's fair.
Goldberg would have been around longer because I hate Goldberg. Russo would have been more crazy, more out of his mind with the on a pole matches, and Hogan be running WCW. Hogan would take Bischoff's role.
I could see that happening, but also like I know how we just said that if that happened, maybe TNA wouldn't exist. Maybe TNA would be better because Bischoff and Hogan would have went there and tried to run him to the ground.
When I was watching I'm just going to say Lance Storm, the James Storm CVV he was on delay this week. He said that was the main that's the main reason why TNA dipped as much as it did, because Bischoff, Hogan, and who was the third name? Did they say Russo for the third name? I don't remember the third name, but he said when Bischoff and Hogan came in, like Hogan would go promote TNA, he would say nothing about TNA. He would talk about himself and like his personal stuff.
Well, that's promoting something else. That's not gonna work for me, brother.
It's gonna work for me, brother.
Although I did hear he went to the hospital recently, so I hope nothing bad happens to you, but you still suck as a person.
I forget what he actually, neck and shoulder pain, I think it was.
It was a complications with a surgery he had.
Yeah, because everybody first thought he was like because the first rumors were like he's on his deathbed.
Yeah, that was from Bubba the Love Sponge.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't want to see anybody die, but you're still a piece of shit person, though. So whatever. Okay, so you know what? It's kind of funny because one of mine kind of will play off of yours a little bit. So you have WCW and WWE, right? Head to head, going at it. What if ECW never really went under per se and got as big as those?
So if they got Heyman out of there somehow.
Well, they actually paid their talent.
No, he paid his. I don't think he paid the taxes. He paid the talent.
What if ECW became as big as those two, and now you had 3 options?
Oh shit!
Because they were on their way for a while.
They were on their way. Yeah, that's a good one. Because I can see. Oh man, I see Dreamer being like their Cena of like never going to never Cena or Dreamer never going to WWE. Like I don't see the invasion angle happening.
Oh, absolutely not.
But I see Dreamer being their Cena. Which it sounds bad because obviously he's been wrestling longer than Cena, but like, what other wrestler do you think of when you say never left the company?
Face of the company, right?
Right, the face of the. I see Dreamer being the face of the company. maybe Sandman never going to rehab. Would it be around today? No. I think it would have lasted longer than it did. Like, I don't see... Like, if WCW wasn't bought out, I don't see WCW being around today. Maybe I can... Unfortunately, because it happened with Ring of Honor, COVID happening, I can see at least WCW not making it through... Or ECW not making it through COVID. WCW might have struggled, but I don't see ECW making it past COVID. With everything that we know about Heyman, we were just joking about the money, but with money stuff and them not, if they don't.
Well,
have a
we're
place
just
to
saying
go,
in this reality, right. If Heyman had a financial backer,
if Heyman was a Khan or a McMahon,
yeah, if someone else came in and was like, "Hey, here's your money, you run it."
I see them going. I mean, even if there wasn't a COVID, I still don't see them around this long.
Would they keep their same aura? Would they keep their same?
They would absolutely keep their same. Like, every match is an Extreme Rules match. The ECW stuff would go on. I see the Dudleys getting even more over than they did in WWE. The Dudleys are. Some people say it. I'm one of the ones that think that just because of all the different title reigns they had, I think the Dudleys is like the top team.
And this is why this is so interesting, right? Because the Dudleys would stay there and would become one of the GOAT tag teams of all time.
Which they are. But I mean, they would single-handedly in their own company.
So now let's erase all the TLC matches.
That's gonna fuck WWE.
Let's erase like the invasion angle.
Right.
Now, do you see how interesting this could become? Like, we could stay here for hours and talking about all the ripple effects.
Yeah.
One big thing that I thought about when I wrote this one down is, let's look at some of the talent that went to ECW.
Ray, Jericho, Eddie,
Stone Cold. When
When
Stone Cold left WCW,
he went to ECW.
He went to ECW, and that's where Heyman started to see that, man, this guy.
Heyman gave him a mic and was like, "Say what you want to say."
So if they were a big company that could pay him money and showcase him as a star, would he have?
Yeah, but
would there have been Stone Cold?
Was he in ECW that long? I don't think he was.
Because they were such a small. ECW was like the minor leagues to WWE and WCW, really. But if they made the same money,
there wouldn't be, or would Stone Cold be an ECW Stone Cold?
Yeah. Would there ever be a Mankind or Cactus Jack? Or there would be a Cactus Jack, I'm sorry. Mankind or Dude Love? Or Mrs. Foley's Baby Boy?
There'd never be a Mrs. Foley's Baby Boy.
Or would there be just a Cactus Jack?
There would just be a Cactus Jack.
So what people like, let's go back to the previous one. Mox, right? Maybe he'd go there.
Hey, well, I could, you know what? I see him going.
Maybe a lot of these New Japan guys
I see
matches
an ECW being like, if ECW is around now,
it's a John Moxley match.
I could see like GCW being ECW's like come ups. Like, ECW goes to them and they're like, hey, you're doing the same thing we do. Like, if you got talent that's getting big, we'll take them up with us. This way, they'll never leave like the hardcore scene of wrestling.
There's a lot of different.
There's a lot of because there's probably people we can't even think of that were in ECW.
There's a lot of guys that went there,
even just for like a match.
A match just for a little bit to kind of get their bearings before they went on to another promotion or something like that. That's
a big one. That's a good one.
That's interesting. I like that.
So I have. What if the top guys didn't leave TNA? And I just have three. I have AJ, Samoa Joe, and Bobby Roode. Obviously, there's a ton more. But when you think of like I know Mount Rushmore is 4 people, but when you think of the Mount Rushmore of TNA, it's literally AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Bobby Roode, and like Christopher Daniels. Maybe is the 4th one. A lot of people put Kurt Angle, but I'm trying to think of like the original TNA guys.
Black Machismo.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, take out Black. I mean, he didn't really go anywhere. He went to Ring of Honor anyways. But yeah, what if Joe? So let's just say, what if Joe, AJ Styles, and Bobby Roode never left TNA?
I think a lot of that had to do, in my opinion, with just the state of where wrestling was at that particular time.
I mean, we know AJ. They were gonna give AJ like half of what he was getting paid.
Yeah.
Like, what if?
And it got to a point where New Japan was literally a better destination than being in TNA.
Like Hogan and Bischoff were never there, and TNA it was just Dixie and Jeff Jarrett.
And see, they didn't care about the original talent. They didn't, and that's something that we talked so much crap on AEW about in the beginning, that they were signing all these prior WWE guys and pushing them, and now now that point makes no sense to me because people jump ship all the time. It is what it is. Yeah, the Hurt Syndicate are the tag champions. So what? Who cares?
Right.
They're talented.
Right.
But in the beginning, they had their homegrown people at AEW, and they were signing WWE guys and pushing them. It's like, stop.
Like, what are you doing?
Do your own guys.
Like, there was so, like, I understood Jericho. And a lot of people, and he says it, and I'm not even a huge Jericho fan, but a lot of people say, without him going in the beginning, AEW might not have lasted.
But, like, I don't like when people say, oh, well, they took Dean Ambrose, and that's, and no.
They didn't, yeah, but he let his contract expire.
But
and
the
literally,
fact
like,
is,
the day after, he made that Moxley video.
he didn't become popular in WWE as
No, because they had him do
he was already popular as Moxley.
Right, he was popular way before WWE.
So if you followed his career for any length of time, Dean Ambrose was weird to you, not Jon Moxley.
Right.
So like,
because when I remember when his contract expired and that Moxley video came out, and I'm like, who is that? This is new. And I looked up Jon Moxley stuff, and I was like, oh, he was big way before WWE.
But back to your point, that was just kind of like another big like, I don't want a shot to TNA to see like, okay, so your big guy went to New Japan,
right,
and became the leader of the Bullet Club,
right.
Samoa Joe comes to WWE and is blown out. Like the fans love him. That was like the first time we've seen their top guys get poached by WWE. Usually it was like the low card guys get cut by WWE.
It was
TNA.
It was somebody of like.
I hate to say it because I love the guy, but Tozawa getting cut.
Right. You hear rumors. You're not rumors, but you hear like, oh man, this dude coming up through TNA, like he's doing awesome, and that's when WWE is like, well, no, we got to get him over here then.
Well, at first they didn't even care about the TNA people.
Right. No, I know that.
Because like Vince didn't even know like what AJ Styles was capable of.
Right.
But I think if they stayed there, but this ties into the Hogan and Bischoff thing. Like if they stayed away from that, I think TNA could have grown even more than what it was. I think that those two held them back.
Oh, those two absolutely held them
because
back.
they were trying to make
Absolutely.
it WCW 2.0.
Yeah, right.
And we're going to go head to head with WWE. No, you're not. Look, AEW doesn't even try to do that.
Right.
You see those long pay-per-views that WWE has on Saturdays, AEW will just, okay, so we're just going to double up on like Thursdays or Fridays now.
Right.
Because we want the viewership.
I'm hoping they're learning too, because like that last one that we watched Double or Nothing, that felt like it was forever. Yeah. It felt long. Like either cut back on some matches, or I know everybody's going to say you're copying WWE. Do 2 nights. Who cares?
Yeah, it's not.
What's the big deal?
Doing 2 nights is not a copy, really.
Right.
But that's actually a really good one.
Some of the things I have. So AJ becomes even more of a megastar. Never goes to New Japan and joins the Bullet Club. I mean, he was. People called him the Cena of TNA, but he becomes the Cena of TNA. They try to go up against WWE, which they did. They tried to go up against Raw, but they go against Raw. They get there 82 weeks like WCW did. They don't ever really take over, but they get there. These are 2 big ones, and I don't even think you thought about this. Bobby Roode never goes, never gets hurt, and never becomes a producer in WWE. He doesn't produce those matches that he was thinking of. That's a big one.
Yeah, because he's a very good producer.
The other big one, which I put it in here, it's not a big one. It's more of an unfortunate one. Joe never left. He never injures TJ. He never becomes a producer, and they never get that mind of him either. He just stays as the wrestler. Maybe sticks it out with Natalia, and they're like, you know what, our contract up, we're not doing nothing, we leave, we're gone. Well, maybe he doesn't get hurt, but I feel like TJ just stays mid-card with the tag team with Cesaro. They break up. Him and Natalia are like, you know what, it's not working for us here. Let's just go. Let's go back home with your 18 cats that you have.
They lose one of their best female trainers.
Right, they lose one of their best female trainers.
And male trainers, really.
Right.
I liked it. That one was interesting. That's my favorite part about these things. There's so many different things could happen, and it's all just speculation and stuff. So really, even if you have your own opinions on it, no one's wrong.
No one's wrong. You can't be wrong. You can't predict what would have happened.
So I'm gonna move around a little bit. Little bit. I'm gonna hit you with. This is a big one.
Oh shit.
This is a massive one.
Oh shit.
What if Vince McMahon Sr.
Oh boy. Oh, his dad. Okay, his dad.
Yes.
Okay.
Never sold the company to Vince McMahon.
Ooh. I don't know what would happen. I feel like, you know what? This isn't a cop-out answer, but I feel like he would try to sell it to Ted Turner. He would try to sell it to WCW. And it would just be the reversal effect. Because I feel like Senior was known for buying territories.
Mm-mm.
Who was known for buying territories?
Vince.
Junior was known for buying. I don't know why I thought it was him.
Nope. Senior was the one that believed in the handshake deals, the promises of.
Okay, so that takes out my WCW thing too. Then
I'm gonna stay. Well, eventually, if he got to like old enough and he sold it to them, then it is what it is. But like we all know, when Vince took over the company, that's when Vince started taking over all the territories.
I don't know why I thought that was Senior.
No, Senior kept it as that is, because he's like, okay, we're from here, we belong here. This is our area. And he had those like handshake deals with all the people across the country. Like, this is your area.
Shit.
This is your territory.
I don't know. I don't even know if I have anything for this one.
So, or if he sold it to a man that believed in the same thing as him,
like a Dusty,
and just had the same mindset as him, that we're never going to
like a Dusty or a Crockett.
Yeah, that we're never going to ever take over anything.
Shit.
Would wrestling be what it is today?
No, absolutely not. It wouldn't be. There'd be no. I don't want to say there'd be no indies, because you'd still have every territory. So the indies would just be in that territory, but you would still have like AWA, GWA. You would have all of those still, but I don't think wrestling would be as big as it is. I think wrestling would be more of like a pastime. I mean, it's a pastime now, but I don't think it'd be the multi-million-dollar thing that it is.
Okay, so
it would just be oh hey, the wrestlers are coming to the Armory this weekend. Let's just go and see what's going on.
I agree with that, because Vince McMahon buying it, took over the territories, took it to this global phenomenon, made it a publicly shared company. Now TKO owns it. Or let's look at it from another direction. Wrestling was popular. It's always been popular.
Right. It's always been
popular. What if all these promotions actually were very successful? And now, instead of a WWE, WCW outlook that we have on the history of wrestling, what if it was 6 or 7 or 8 territories that might not have been as high as them, but maybe just a tier lower than them? How many more options would you have?
The NWA, the AWA.
So yeah, you're
Georgia
right.
Championship Wrestling.
You're right. The indies kind of would have been a non-thing, but you wouldn't need the indies when there would be so much work for the wrestlers out there.
Right.
And then imagine the things they could do, because they did it back then. Hey, this guy, my top star from here, is going to go fight your top star. You would have. There would be none of that. Nobody's intertwining. You would literally constantly have a forbidden door.
That's a really good point. I didn't think about it that way. I like that one. That's a good one.
You would have.
You would.
I mean, obviously not all of them would make it, but if wrestling stayed popular, would it be the global thing it is now? No.
Probably not. No.
But it could be just a tier lower.
Right.
You know.
Right. That's a good one. I like that one. It'd be like. I mean, I don't want to use like.
I want to say something that it kind of makes more sense to me. Like right now, wrestling is like soccer in Europe.
Correct. I see that. I'm trying to think of like what sport it would. I don't want to use golf.
So
like
the way I'm looking at it is wrestling. If all the territories around, maybe it would be as popular as soccer in America. Still popular, still loved by a lot of people.
Not one of the main, but not football, baseball, basketball.
Exactly.
Hockey.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying. I was trying to correlate it to a sport. It's a good one.
Yeah.
Let me find a good one here.
I really like that.
I don't have too many. And I probably should. I couldn't think of points for this one. But what if New Japan had a normal time slot in America? Not like, I think it was on at like 2:00 in the morning on a Monday. What if it was on at like noon on Thursday?
Do you mean now or back then?
Now, back then, I don't even know. I mean, well, it's still around now, but I think like when the rumblings were going on of it, like when Kenny, Okada, Tanahashi, when they were all still there. When let's put it this way, when Finn, Anderson, and Fale first made Bullet Club back then, you could watch that. You heard rumblings about it. Thursday at noon came on. You heard rumblings because obviously you can't watch it live, because live is like 2:00 in the morning. So you hear rumblings about it, or you go online and see something, and you're like, I need to watch this. So Thursday at noon comes on. Oh, New Japan's on. Let me watch and see what happened. Let me. What's this Bullet Club thing everybody's talking about?
See, I think that would have been a good thing for the exposure of the company in itself. The only downfall that I see if you're a wrestling fan, we know all of them, right? We know New Japan, we know everything that's going on. I think to your casual fan, though, right now, I'm only speaking for right now, Wrestling is so oversaturated.
There's a lot. Dude, I watch wrestling almost every day.
Exactly.
Almost every day.
Is there room for another company to come in?
No. Because, like, we don't... So, you got Raw, NXT, Dynamite. Thursdays is TNA, which is on, like, Access. SmackDown, Collision, and then pay-per-views on... Literally, if there's a pay-per-view, you got wrestling on every day.
Now, for your casual fans that, like, turn into AEW every week, yeah, they love to see Mox. They love to see MJF because he's, like, you know, the homegrown star.
I heard he got attacked in the airport.
But also, like, do you hear a lot of the casuals clamoring about Okada and even Omega? Like,
not really, which is kind of sad.
They're two of the best wrestlers ever.
Even Ospreay, like, you don't hear a lot of people talking about. You don't hear a lot of the ones that started in New Japan.
But if Ospreay was on NXT and did only half of his moveset that he does now in AEW, he'd be talked about all the time.
You don't hear a lot of talk, but that's what I mean. Like, you don't. All these guys that started in New Japan, we don't hear a lot of talks about them. So what if when they were in New Japan starting, we were able to watch that?
That goes too with your comfort level.
I don't think Finn leaves. I think Finn stays there. I think the Bullet Club. I think the original Bullet Club stays there, and they grow from there.
So how would that affect AEW now?
I don't know if AEW. I don't think AEW would be a thing.
Exactly, because a lot of those people went to AEW.
They were either New Japan or Ring of Honor. I think.
Now, if you take AEW out of the equation, because AEW has 2 shows on per week, all their guys like pretty much stay over there, and then they did get broadcasted over here and promoted over here. I think they could be a lot more successful than they are.
They could be.
But if they try to do it right now, it won't.
Right now, there's no way it's not happening.
Overly saturated.
Right.
But
if we're doing whatever at work on the weekend, and I look at you and go, holy shit, New Japan's getting a deal that Tuesdays at 1 o'clock in the afternoon we can watch it. I don't know if I'm watching it. One, there's not that many people over, like, there's maybe a handful of people over there that we know about. Or if we hear talk to somebody, yeah, cool, I'll go look it up. But, like, I don't know if I'm watching that every week.
Yeah.
Maybe if it's on, say if it's on Tuesday at 1 o'clock and later on I'm scrolling through Twitter and they're like, oh man, this amazing match between Gabe Kidd and whoever the hell the leader of the Bullet Club is happened, I'll go back and watch that match. I don't know if I'm going to watch the whole, was it an hour, 2 hours? I don't know if I'll watch the whole thing. I just have Balor and the Bullet Club would be worldwide sooner. Balor's not, I don't see Balor leaving. They pick up Kenny, the Young Bucks. They stay Bullet Club. They stay Bullet Club over there. Okada and Omega. I didn't want to put it this way, but Okada and Omega become like Rock and Austin from WWE. Obviously, yeah, their careers last longer because we both figured out the Rock and Austin stuff. They only wrestled for like 3 years or whatever. They obviously wrestle longer. Their careers last longer, but I didn't have too many things to go with that.
It is an interesting thing though. What if? That's the title.
Right.
I feel like the Family Guy episode when he's watching a movie and they say the name of the movie in the
like,
movie.
Yeah, like 18 times.
He's like, there it is. Yeah, that's what it is. All right, here's a new one.
I mean, they're all new.
So what if The Rock, the most electrifying man in sports for like 6-7 years, what if he never went into movies?
What if he stayed in WWE?
His entire career. First of all, we wouldn't have Moana, which would upset me.
Well, we wouldn't have... He had a couple good movies. I mean, we wouldn't have...
We might have Moana, but we wouldn't have the Maui.
We wouldn't have that Maui. He's making... Obviously, it's not going to be called the Bloodline, but he's making his own team of Evolution. He's making an Evolution team. He's the Ric Flair with other Samoans coming up in the company at that time.
So he's going to be the originator of the Bloodline.
He's going to be, but it's not going to be like the Bloodline that we know now. It's not. It might be him, Roman, and the Usos as Evolution, but I don't think they're called the Bloodline. I don't think they do Solo, the Tongans, Fatu. I don't think the rest of them come in. I think he sticks with them and goes through with them. Gives himself, I don't know, 4 more years in wrestling before he's got to give it up and retire. Because he's still doing matches. He's getting more and more rundown. He's pushing he's making a new nation, not a Bloodline. He's making Nation 2.0, which is Evolution. So him, I don't want to use Roman and Usos, but like, no other Samoan was around at that time that we know of.
Rikishi.
Does he put Rikishi in there? Is he Is he? You know what? Maybe he's the Hunter. Rikishi's the Flair, and then the Usos are Orton and Batista.
So I'm looking at this from a completely different perspective.
Well, I would hope so, because mine was a really good perspective, honestly.
So when you have, if The Rock never left,
for
how popular The Rock is, if you ask anybody their Mount Rushmore wrestling, I'm sure you're gonna hear 3 names.
You're gonna hear Rock,
Stone Cold, Cena,
right, and then a random.
The last one is gonna be a debate.
It depends on what year how old the person is that you're asking, but yeah.
You know, you might have a Shawn Michaels, you might have an Undertaker. If you have white sheets on your bed, you'll pick Hulk Hogan.
I was gonna say you're gonna have a Hogan.
Yeah, but I feel like Seth Rollins now, just taking cheap shots at Hogan all the time. So for the popularity that The Rock had from the time that he was in wrestling, if he stayed in for his entire career, he's going to be the new GOAT. He will be the greatest of all time. Does Cena get the push that he got? Because they already have their face. That's never going to leave.
Yeah, but they have their face for that generation.
The Rock and Cena overlapped.
Correct. The Rock and Cena overlap.
But you got to think, The Rock only wrestled for like 6 years.
Right.
If he extended his career 10 more years...
I don't think he's going 10 more years. That's the thing. I don't think he's going...
Where's he going? To the movies?
In this reality,
he doesn't go to the movies.
I don't think The Rock... In this reality, I don't think The Rock's there right now, today.
In this reality...
I'm turning on Rock...
Because he started before Cena, so he would be like...
That's what I mean. I think the torch would still be handed to Cena a lot later on.
But would it, though? Because anybody in the wrestling business says right place, right time.
Right.
Right place, right time. Stone Cold. Triple H.
We're getting there. I think that's going to be the last one we're talking about.
Right place, right time has a lot to do with everything. If they didn't need Cena to become the thugonomic Cena at that time, and maybe he, just like we said with Seth, maybe he fell into the mid-card.
Maybe he falls into the mid-card.
And then your face of the company is not going to come until later on. Maybe it be a Roman.
Maybe it be a Roman.
But what I'm saying is, like...
Maybe he hands it to Roman.
Rock never leaves.
Right.
So, like, you're thinking about Rock now. No, I'm not talking about now. I'm talking about, like, up until, like, 5-6 years ago, maybe he officially, in this reality, retires.
He's done, yeah.
Cena wouldn't be what Cena was.
No, Cena wouldn't.
Because Cena was the face of the company. Cena was everything.
Cena carried it when Rock was like, I'm out. Let me dip.
Yeah, Cena was the face of the PG era. But with The Rock being there and with his popularity, and let's be honest, The Rock had the attitude era, but he could go PG in a second.
He could.
Versatile, beloved by everybody. We won't have John Cena.
No, we wouldn't have John Cena. I don't think... Who would he pass the torch to?
It would just be who's coming up at that particular time.
But do you think... So he doesn't become... Does he become arrogant Rock? Does he stay...
If they're going to keep The Rock as the face of the company...
Does he go to Vince...
I say he stays the tweener Rock that everybody loves.
Does he go to Vince and go, I want to pass the torch to my cousin Roman?
Maybe. And at that point, I mean, he still has that pull now.
Right.
Well, then he still had that pull,
right,
even though he's on the board now. But he could have just said something like that. Yeah, this is my choice for who's getting the torch. And then that could have set Roman's career in a whole totally different trajectory. Like,
right,
not necessarily the tribal chief, but more like you're the anointed one. Like, you're here, now you're in charge. Like,
you're the Rock 2.0, almost.
So there's like a lot of different...
That's a good one. I like that one. That is a good one. Here's a... I don't know if it's as good as that one. What if CM Punk's MMA career was a success?
And he never came back to wrestling?
Yeah.
I think, my personal opinion, Punk would go down as a Stone Cold who had... Well, Punk had a long career before he got to WWE.
Right.
Regardless, but I think he got there, he did his thing, like everybody fell in love with him. I think he would have that lightning in a bottle for that small amount of time, like funny enough, Stone Cold and The Rock had. Because really, you look at their careers, there's so many wrestlers right now have wrestled longer than The Rock and Austin.
Every time I hear that, I'm like, there's no way. Like, to me, I as a little kid, I watched The Rock wrestle for 10 years.
So I think if his career kicked off, we wouldn't have a lot of the things. We wouldn't have a lot of the crazy stuff that happened in AEW, obviously.
Right.
But he would go down in history, and he would be in that category of the popularity and the love by the fans, but he didn't have a long run in the main show.
Yeah, that's basically. He'd still be in MMA today, commentating, doing whatever. He wouldn't go to AEW, so you wouldn't have the whole backlash with Jack Perry, the Bucks getting suspended, that whole little downward spiral they had. I think the only time he's shown back up in WWE is when he's in the crowd.
Yeah.
Or
now that TKO.
Right. Or now if TKO and now he's in MMA, he does like a celebrity spot backstage or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Or once every they pay him enough and he does something small at a Mania. He does some small match at a Mania. But I don't think he ever goes back to wrestling.
I have a couple older ones that I'm going to roll through now.
Okay.
Here's one that it kind of ties into. I already know one that you have down.
Oh, should we just do that one because it ties into like 18 of them?
But it ties into this kind of.
Okay.
What if Hulk Hogan
wasn't the third man?
No, never left WWF and went to WCW. What if he stayed?
Oh.
What if he stayed and just Hulkamania ran wild throughout whatever?
Wow. I mean, it made more sense because it wasn't being... Well, no, it wouldn't make sense because it's not down in the South. That's a good one. What would have happened? I don't think there's an Austin or a Rock.
I disagree.
I don't think there's an Austin or a Rock. I think they try coming up, and he's like, no, it doesn't work for me, brother.
Okay, first of all, I think that he would bury the new talent. 100%, I agree with that. There would be options because WCW is still alive at that time. Right. I mean, they could obviously Stone Cold didn't work out there. The Rock never went there.
You can go. You could be terrorizing over there.
That was Triple H.
I know, but he was
stunning Steve.
We always say Rock and Austin. I'm throwing Triple H in there. The three of them aren't getting over.
Hunter, I think would, because Hunter was the best heel I think of my generation.
Yeah.
Rock and Austin were
we're different. We're saying goddamn.
Rock and Austin were faces.
I don't. Hollywood Rock wasn't a face,
but people still loved him.
Yeah, people love Orton when he was punting Stephanie McMahon. He wasn't a face then.
People just hated McMahon's.
Right, but he wasn't a face then. He was a heel then.
So this goes into my point. I'm glad you say that. I think that would have been the worst thing ever for Hulk Hogan's career. I think that he would have been able to play on it through a little bit until you got to that point where
he's getting old.
Maybe WCW starts getting edgier.
Oh.
And not that he's too old. That gimmick is going to backfire on him.
The Real American gimmick?
Yep. Because it backfired on Cena for being the good guy all the time. The cookie cutter good guy does not work in today's world because we don't like seeing the big villains, like, screw them, the bullies, right? But if you're a cookie cutter, I'm the greatest ever, I follow all the rules. Screw you too.
Right.
We want the tweeners. We want that stuff.
I want the guy that's going to follow the rules, but also like, hey, if I got to do this thing behind the ref's back, I'm going to do it.
So I'm thinking if WCW went more edgier, you're going to have guys like Austin. You're going to have guys
in
like
WCW.
Rock go to WCW. The biggest thing to save Hogan's career was going to WCW, joining the NWO, because that was one of the probably top 2 moments ever in wrestling history.
It's got to be.
One of the best factions in wrestling history. One of the best surprising moments in wrestling history. But if he stayed, that gimmick was going to get stale because it happens all the time. And especially like once the 90s were over and they got rid of the whole like actual like occupation gimmicks. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, like Isaac Yankem. Duke the Dumpster Drazy. Like that stuff. Once they got into the more serious-ish thing, which I think WCW probably would have had to jump on them with the serious side. Because they'd be like, oh, well, WWE is just being, like, too cartoony. Because they did that when Hogan went over there. And then WWE had to switch up everything into the Attitude Era. Would the Attitude Era ever have started when it did if Hogan stayed there with a
eat your vitamins
Do
and
we
say
get
your
an
prayers.
Attitude Era?
Do we?
I think the Attitude Era goes to WCW.
Or do most of those guys go to WCW because that's where they can be edgier?
Or they go to ECW.
That's the one thing where Bischoff did right is he's like, yo, WWE's product it's stale, it's cookie cutter. They got nobody.
Right.
We need to make this edgy, and they just so happen to have Hall, Nash, and Hogan fall into their lap. I think they could have done that with other talent too, especially someone along the lines of like Rock, Austin, hell, even like a Hunter Leave, like because the landscape is different now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not going to be what it was. We're talking back before any of those guys were anything.
Right, before they were. I mean, they'd be Rocky Johnson stunning Steve Austin and terrorizing. Like,
but would Hogan have pulled the politics in WWE? And then at that point, who would have won at the end?
I think WCW would have won.
WCW be right now with Ted Turner, or in WWF be the one that got bought out?
Yeah, that's.
Then we wouldn't have anything. We wouldn't have nothing today. What happens to the Bloodline legacy?
They wouldn't have shit. They'd be in football again.
I mean, granted, the Bloodline did wrestle in WCW too, like a lot of them, but still, we wouldn't have anything. Royal Rumbles, WrestleManias.
We'd still have.
If WWE was gone, no, we wouldn't have none of that stuff.
We'd still have.
Starrcade, we would have.
Oh my God! What's the double?
War Games.
Yeah, we'd have War Games. That's about it.
War Games, Starrcade, Fall Brawl, Halloween Havoc,
Bash at the Beach.
Yeah. I mean, crazy, right?
I'm trying to think what other matches they had. Didn't they have that one where it was like two? Was it them? Was it them or another company? 2 rings in a steel cage, and then like a third ring on top of it.
It wasn't a ring. It was another cage on top of it. That was from the movie Ready to Rumble.
Yeah, but it was an actual thing, though, I think, too.
I think they did it for like 1
Oh my God, we'd have sequels to Ready to Rumble.
Nah. I'm going to crown you. Okay.
We need to watch that movie and review it.
We do.
So what if the Give Divas a Chance / Evolution 1 never happened?
They'd be in some hot water with the world right now, that's for sure.
Yeah. I don't know if there'd be a Divas division.
Especially about equality.
I don't know if there'd be a women's division, honestly.
No, they would just
now
be
that I'm
divas.
thinking about it. Well, yeah.
They would just be divas who just were paraded around in scantily clad clothes.
You'd still have the butterfly title.
Bra and panties matches.
There'd still be the Divas division in the title. We wouldn't have the international stars: Julia, Vakir, Asuka, Kairi.
No, because they wouldn't even want.
They're all going to stay in Stardom. You wouldn't have Toni Storm. You wouldn't have the 4 Horsewomen.
All these people would be wrestling in indie promotions and being amazing at what they do, but they would never have the opportunity to showcase themselves like they do now.
The Diva Search would still be a thing. The sexualized matches would still be around. Vince would want to be in every storyline still.
Oh God, yeah. His allegations would probably never come out because they'd all be afraid.
And that you know.
That would be a very, very sad thing for wrestling. We'd have no mommy.
I mean, we would. It would. She wouldn't be who she is.
Oh, absolutely not.
She wouldn't be there.
No, that's what I mean. She wouldn't be there. We'd have no mommy.
I think you'd have a quarter of the talent you have right now.
Especially with a lot of the wrestlers that have women in the business.
Oh God, yeah. How many guys wouldn't be there? I forgot about that.
Yeah. You know, Cross wouldn't be involved in that stuff. Like, Scarlett's not doing a bra and panty match.
Did you not just see the picture you put up with Scarlett online?
That's on his own terms. He ain't gonna have no other guy go out and do that.
You don't know that.
I wouldn't talk shit about Cross. He can literally break your leg.
You don't know that. If it gets me on TV, hey, you don't know about that. You know, he just put a picture online of him grabbing Scarlett's ass, full ass.
Yeah, and if the Divas were still around, it would be Vince grabbing her ass every week.
Right, but then he's gonna go, hey, here's an extra $2,000.
I wouldn't even take $2,000 for Vince to grab my ass.
I would. $2,000 a week to grab my ass? Yeah, I would.
Oh my God.
$2,000's a lot.
Oh my God, what if we never did this podcast?
That'd pay off my car a lot quicker.
Lord help me.
What's your next one?
Huh?
What's your next one?
I don't even know at this point.
Well, then I'm gonna keep going with mine because I still have more.
So I got more too. What if in the 1990s the steroid trials Vince was actually convicted,
Oh.
what would have happened to wrestling? I think this ties into the last one, though.
I think this shuts wrestling down.
Because Vince wasn't the only one that was supplying.
I think...
WCW, did you see the size of some of those guys over there?
Yeah, Scott Steiner was over there, yeah.
Jesus.
I think it shuts wrestling down. Like, wrestling goes away for 3 years, 2 years, 3 years. It tries to come... You get somebody... This was the 90s? Because I was going to say you get, like... Austin, Rock, and Hogan. I hate using those terms, but you get them together to try to bring wrestling back, and it fails. It never gets to come back.
It's always clawing to get back, but
it's always clawing, but it never fully happens.
It's like the XFL.
Yeah,
they keep trying to redo it, but
it
it's never
happens.
I agree with that.
You wrestling's just something you watch online because it's not around right now.
I that's exactly what I said.
Shit, that's a tough one.
That is a tough one.
This wouldn't be a thing. We'd be talking about something else.
Yeah, we would definitely be talking about, like, I don't know.
So to go along with my last one, I guess, kind of. What if the allegations never came out?
Recent?
Yeah. What if the Vince allegations never came out?
You know what? I can't say that it would necessarily go as negative as people think it would.
No.
And that's not me defending Vince.
Because we don't know. We wouldn't know about it.
Because a lot of the things that we love in wrestling right now, the Bloodline, obviously Rock and Austin, we keep saying it, bringing Edge back, bringing in AJ.
It was all Vince.
It was all Vince that did that.
Right.
Bringing back Cody.
It was Vince.
It was Vince.
Vince flew Pritchard to Cody's house.
Like, Vince did a lot of bad stuff, and I'm not defending that at all, but I mean, if those allegations never came out and he was still in charge, would we have the long matches like we have now? No. Would we have as in-depth storylines like the ones that last like a year or longer? Yes and no, because
we wouldn't have as many,
yes,
and we wouldn't. It'd be who he'd be his top people.
Yeah, it would be like Theory.
Yeah. I think so. The two things that I have. Hunter'd still be running NXT.
Yeah, Hunter would be in NXT. He wouldn't be on the main roster.
The 1,000+ day Roman Reigns reign, Lesnar has it. And it's like 2,000.
I don't know, man. I think he would have left the title on Roman.
You think it? No.
I don't know.
I don't know if he's a Roman guy.
He started it.
Right, but the dog, you did the dog food stuff?
Well, that's because Roman just grew a set and he was like, yeah, I ain't doing this shit.
I think it goes to Lesnar. Lesnar was his, like, boy.
Oh, we would be seeing a lot more Lesnar.
Lesnar's having that title title run though. Maybe not 2,000, but the 1,034 or 43, whatever it was. That's not Roman. That's Lesnar.
I mean, it wouldn't change the landscape of a lot of stuff. Like, I mean, I think Cena would not be heel.
No, Cena wouldn't be a heel. I don't think he'd be back either, though. I think when he was...
No, if he wanted to retire, Vince would give him a retirement.
Vince would give him a retirement, yeah. Okay, yeah, he wouldn't do this heel. But maybe he would, though.
Cena literally just came out and said he's not saying anything bad about Vince. Like, those two were, like, father-son type stuff.
Right. Is Shane still part of the company?
No.
But Shane
left a few
Shane left
different
before
times
that,
because of Vince.
Yeah. That's right.
Is Steph still part of the company?
Yeah. She's doing stuff down in NXT with Hunter.
Was she still doing her...
What was Sean doing when Hunter was running NXT? Anything?
I think he might have
Was he a coach?
Might have been, yeah.
So he's still stuck as a coach down there in NXT. You don't get the stupid 2.0. You get black. It stays black. NXT stays black and gold.
No, you would get 2.0. Vince is the one that changes.
I know, but I don't. Well, no, I guess it still does. It does move to Tuesday.
We actually, honestly, if Vince was still in charge, we might not have Hunter anymore.
So maybe, yeah, you might be right.
Because they did away with the black and gold NXT. They went to 2.0.
2.0.
And Hunter was like on the main roster, but like he was just like he didn't book everything. He was just kind of like the consultant-ish person.
Like the internet guy doing all the. I forget what his name of his role actually was.
So I don't know. I mean, I personally like it how it is. I don't like the ticket prices and stuff.
Oh, God. We were trying to go to SummerSlam, and it's
Oh yeah, I ain't going to SummerSlam. I might go to SummerSlam in 4 years.
I want to go to a Mania, but I'm gonna have to like take a loan out.
I'm gonna have to sell like a loan.
It's crazy. The ticket prices are crazy.
Anybody want to buy a loan?
What do you have next? I thought of one as we were going that I wrote down. I don't have any points for it.
Did you?
I'll have to think of them.
Oh, I thought of one, and this might be a hard one because I thought of this as we were talking, and I'm like, I don't have any points for this one. So we'll both.
Okay.
We'll both look dumb in a row.
So I'll do my one next after that.
All right. What if Jesse Ventura's goal to unionize wrestlers and make them not independent contractors anymore? What if that actually happened?
Oh,
That's big.
I mean, you're not getting released early.
No, because that stuff would have to go through a moderator.
Right.
Their pay would be different, like all based on a certain thing. They, like you said, they won't be able to get released just like that. There'd be a lot more to that.
Shit.
They'd have like full health, full everything.
Do wrestlers stick around longer because of it?
I think so. Because look, a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm only working my job because I need insurance.
Right.
I'm only working this job because I need this."
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Maybe they do.
Maybe they do.
Do careers last longer?
Careers absolutely last longer.
Because now you have access to any type of WWE did do right by a lot of people.
Right.
Like
look at Ray now. Ray goes for stem cells and like he feels fantastic.
Putting people in rehabs and stuff like
Right.
they have done right, but like at the end of the day, they are independent contractors and they could just be like let go.
Which is literally why we could wake up tomorrow and see Roman Reigns was released from his contract.
Yeah, and it's like we can go into work tomorrow and they can say you're both fired.
Right. I mean, what is it?
Why is that didn't happen?
They need us. They wouldn't do that. They wouldn't be able to do that. They need us.
What if we weren't there?
The place would be shambled.
Shambles.
It would be in shambles.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I totally forgot he was trying to do that.
Yeah. That's why he was like blackballed from the country from the company for such a long time.
Yeah.
Because he wanted to do it. I think wrestlers' careers would last longer. I think overall the morale in that aspect of things. Now the only downfall about it is since they would be unionized, I don't think you would see a Roman get a $5 million contract and then another guy get like a $500,000.
No.
I think it would be more closer. Obviously, people are going to make more than other people based on what you sell, but I don't think it's going to be that big of a jump. And I think that the rosters would be a lot smaller because now with the rosters, they would have to worry about everything included. Travel, hotels,
vacation,
sick pay. Like all that stuff would have to be included. So you're not going to have a roster of however many people are on WWE right now.
Let's say 100. We know it's not.
It's not. We'll pretend it's 100. But so right now, if there's 100, you might only be able to do 60 now. So your rosters are going to be smaller. And now look, if they did it to there, every other company would start doing it. So what happens to smaller companies like TNA?
They go away.
Can they even afford that?
They can't do that.
AEW, okay,
yeah,
Khan's money, they could do it.
Right.
But how much would they shot up faster with all these New Japan guys being like, "Yo, I'm coming. Like, I'm over there. Like, let's do this." Like, they might be saying it in Japanese.
So as to your previous, how do our ticket prices go to that?
Our ticket prices, I think, would be a lot higher than they are right now.
They would shoot up a lot more.
Yeah. They would have a lot more responsibility, a lot more to worry about.
You're not getting under $100 ticket price.
Because right now, every single wrestler is an independent contractor. They can be released anytime. They have to pay for basically their own stuff most of the time. I think WWE does pay for flights.
Yeah. Because a lot of times they're chartered.
Yeah, and not a lot like hotels and stuff like that. That's on them. The rental cars is on them. I think. No, because they share. Hell, a whole show is made about ride along.
Right.
They ride together.
But no, because was it Gunther? Someone just asked in their contract for a bus, and they were like, "Yeah, cool. Here you go."
Well, that's different. A unionized thing, you won't be able to do that because
right.
now you're showing favoritism.
Right. Yeah.
So now everybody would need a bus.
Everybody need yeah.
So Cody wouldn't have one. Gunther wouldn't have one. Seth wouldn't have a bus.
You'd see WWE planes flying all the time.
Maybe there's different rules going on now. Maybe you can't have people backstage.
Yeah.
So maybe Seth and Becky can't bring their kid.
You can't bring your kid. You can't bring your family backstage.
Yeah.
You can't ask for, hey, we're going to my hometown. I need 5 front row.
I've never been in a union, so I don't know how they go.
But I don't know how the hell unions work.
But like, there's probably rules that everybody has to be treated fair.
Right.
Because in the world of wrestling right now, everybody's not treated fair.
God, no.
Cody Rhodes is getting the red carpet. Grayson Waller might get a high and a pat on the back when he walks through. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a little different. So, I don't know. I think it would be a huge impact to wrestling. Especially happening back when he wanted it to. Hulk Hogan would hate it.
Hulk Hogan would have hated it. The primary roles
Which is funny. Hold on. Before you go on to that. Hulk Hogan, fun fact, is the one that ratted Jesse Ventura out.
What a shocker.
To Vince, that Jesse was planning on trying to get it unionized. That's why Jesse hates Hogan.
What a shocker. He also hates cage matches when you walk out the door.
I mean, he kind of had a point. I'm not going.
The primary roles for a union revolve around the principles of collective bargaining, employee rights, and fair representation.
Fair. Exactly.
Key rules and principles: right to organize, collective bargaining, fair representation, employee rights, employer obligations, union dues and fees, grievance procedures. So yeah, there'd be a lot.
Yeah. And everything would have to be fair. So Gunther's not getting a bus because you got to get the whole roster.
That's why we are seeing WWE planes flying everywhere anymore. So the one that I thought of as we were sitting here talking, what if Sting was the third man? And I have to think of stuff near as we're talking because it literally, when you brought up the Hogan thing, that's why I said if he wasn't the third man, what if Sting was the actual third man? And if you don't know what I'm talking about, when NWO was forming at Bash at the Beach, 95? I don't know the year.
5 or 6.
It was supposed to be Sting being the third man to go with Hall and Nash. And like hours before, I think Hogan was like, no, I'll do it. It was either hours before, like the day before. He was like, no, I'll do it. It doesn't have to be Sting. Because he didn't want to, he was the face for WCW and didn't want to turn. But so what if Sting was the third man in NWO? I don't know if I have anything for it. It's just a what if.
That would change the dynamic of everything. What would Hogan be? Hogan would have to do something. Like I said, his thing would be stale.
Would Hogan? Obviously, it's not going to be the same gimmick. Would Hogan be Crow Sting? Obviously, he's not going to be in the rafter with a baseball bat with a crow mask on. But does he? I don't know how
he turned into the real American badass now.
Right.
And he's
like
fighting
I don't know what the name of his gimmick would be. But does he take the role of stopping NWO from taking over WCW? Maybe. And then later on going, hey, I guess I'm joining.
And the funny thing about that is I have one that is literally not similar, but almost similar to what you said. What if Sting never became the anti-Crow hero Sting?
What if he never cared if NWO took over WCW?
Basically, from that moment when NWO started, they had one guy. I know he joined eventually.
Right, but
so did the whole roster.
But yeah, you had to.
But you had only a few select people.
You had like him, DDP.
Goldberg. Never really, they were always against the NWO. But Sting was always the face of the company.
Sting was always the one of...
I don't care about Goldberg's run. I don't care about his streak.
Right.
Sting was always the GOAT. Always above that.
Crow Sting was the face of the company.
And he joined the Wolfpack, which was kind of rivaling the
right. I think if
regular NWO.
You're going against the Hollywood NWO? Yeah, cool, I'll join you.
So, what would have been if Sting never did that? Who would they have do that?
They just have DDP? DDP tried doing it for a little bit.
DDP started wrestling when he was like in his 40s.
I know, DDP wrestled old. I feel like it wouldn't be Goldberg until, like, Goldberg didn't care until Nash got the title.
See, I don't know if it could have been Goldberg because the top 3 of the NWO was Hall, Nash, and Hogan, who never wanted to put people over.
Right.
And Goldberg never wanted to put people over. How the hell are you going to do that?
Who would be it? Who would it be? That's a tough question. I don't know if I have an answer.
Alex Riley. Remember that guy? He used to come out dancing.
Alex Riley was the dude that came out with The Miz.
No, it wasn't.
What was his name?
Oh, it was Alex Riley. What's the guy name?
I know who you're talking about, though.
Shit.
This isn't going to work.
Oh, no, yeah. We need to figure it out.
No, but the way I'm going to look it up isn't going to work.
WCW dancing guy.
That's what I'm putting in. Dancing WCW stars.
Oh, God, I'd hate to see your internet history after this one.
Alex Wright.
Alex Wright.
Yeah.
See,
I like how it came up Alex Wright and Disco Inferno were the first two that get 3 count didn't even come up.
Alex Wright.
I remember him.
Yeah.
Alex Wright and Disco Inferno were a tag team called the Dancing Fools. In 1998. They were feuding with each other in 1998 and decided to form a tag team called the Dancing Fools.
See, you learn something new every day.
You do learn something new every day. And then I scrolled down and it's talking about the Nitro Girls. What does that have to do with anything? Well, I guess they were dancing.
They danced.
In cages.
Yeah. I dance in cages.
So here's I don't know if you should be able to answer this one. What if the first All In flopped? Never got over. Yeah.
The first All In flop.
Yeah.
What would have happened? Because the first All In, correct me if I'm wrong, was before AEW.
That basically made AEW. Yeah.
That was the catalyst.
It was more
to see what would happen.
They weren't. It wasn't like done by Ring of Honor, but like the camera, every piece of production was from Ring of Honor, like the cameras, the lights, all of that
everything
stuff.
was the brainchild of Cody,
the Bucks,
Omega.
Kenny, Hangman,
yeah,
all of them. But like it
was the first ever event really put on by actual
right.
performers.
But the lights, the cameras, all the like big stuff was from because they were all in Ring of Honor at the time. It was all Ring of Honor. It wasn't like a Ring of Honor pay-per-view per se because their name wasn't there, but it was basically like Ring of Honor presents All In. It wasn't a Ring of Honor pay-per-view. It's a tough one.
This is a really tough one. Well, obviously there would be no AEW.
Obviously.
I would say that maybe this is what happens in the other ripple effect that we talked about, that maybe they went back to New Japan and decided like, okay, if this didn't work with this, maybe we'll take what we have and try to make this global and maybe turn them into the rival, and it would be like right now WWE New Japan without AEW.
That's a good one. I have
but logistically that would be so much harder doing from over there.
I mean they have like New Japan Strong, which is like in California or something, but it's like I think that's literally like their NXT. I have Cody still traveling around in the Indies. Obviously, AEW doesn't become a thing. Ring of Honor dies earlier than it did because COVID killed Ring of Honor. Like Tony Khan brought it back. WWE would get lazy and they wouldn't put NXT on TV. NXT would still be on like, I guess Peacock because.
I was gonna say that too. WWE get lazy because I think they would.
The big thing that I have, Cody, Kenny, the Bucks, and Hangman all go bankrupt because they used their own money. They auctioned off everything beforehand. The turnbuckle covers, they were auctioned off. The ring mat was auctioned off. I can't think what it's called. The drape, whatever it's called, that hangs off the ring. The apron. All that stuff was auctioned off because they had to use their own money. I think if it didn't go over, they all go bankrupt. Kenny obviously can go back to New Japan. I don't know if maybe the Bucks can. I don't think Hangman. I think Hangman just goes and becomes like a family man. I think he's done with wrestling.
I think Cody would have been okay.
I think Cody would have been alright. He'd still been going indie. Maybe he'd go back to TNA for a little bit.
Maybe Stardust again.
I don't know about that one.
I don't know if you're bankrupt.
I saw a picture. It was Stardust, Goldust, and Mr. Iguana, and it said Stardust, Goldust. I forget what. And they had something else for Mr. Iguana, and I was like, "There's a stable right there. There we go." I don't want to say it was Green Dust, but it was something. It was something like that.
I gotta go one.
Okay.
What if Brock Lesnar never broke the streak? Does it still stand today?
I think.
Now this doesn't have a lot of ripples in wrestling right now.
It doesn't. I think Roman still breaks it.
You think Roman still breaks it?
We've had this talk before. I think Braze should have been the one to break it.
I think it would still be there.
You think it would still be undefeated?
Yes. My reasoning is because they wanted Orton to break it.
They wanted Orton. He wanted Cena.
And Orton was
Punk.
like, no. I think the wrestlers would not have.
Taker went to Cena and Punk and both did like in division was like, I want you to break my streak, and they're like, no. Yeah. You know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, yeah, because I don't think anybody would want to. I feel like they only gave it to Roman just because they know the backlash of everybody hating Lesnar. Maybe that's why they did give it to Roman. So yeah, maybe it does go undefeated.
I think he still stays.
That reminds me, and I forgot to bring it up in the rewind. Did you see they bought his podcast?
Ooh.
WWE.
Really?
Yeah, they got rid of the guy. And they put Michelle McCool as his co-host.
Oh, I like the guy.
So it's him and Michelle talking about on like WWE's thing. WWE bought it. Yeah.
He probably made bank off.
He probably made bank, but I'd be like, no, like I'm good. Don't worry about it. I saw that the other day.
I heard that he's also going to be a trainer, or like he's going to work closer now. Like I know he does the LFG stuff, but he's going to be closer to.
That'd be good.
The business.
That'd be good. What else do I have? Because I'm not going in order. Oh, here. What if COVID never happened? So there's little things, but there's something really big that I think doesn't happen.
I don't know how COVID changed the landscape of wrestling.
We don't get the tribal chief. He doesn't go away. He went away because he couldn't wrestle during COVID because of his leukemia.
Very true.
He never goes away. He never randomly shows back up with Heyman. We don't get the tribal chief.
Very true.
The Thunderdome doesn't happen, which whatever, nobody cares about. Obviously, we don't get the tribal chief and everything that comes with it. The bloodline, all of that. And the other thing that I have, just because it's the best pay-per-view I've ever watched, we don't get the Money in the Bank Titan Tower.
You literally love that.
I love, dude, it's so funny. Literally, Vince is sitting at his desk as Daniel Bryan, and he just starts wrestling in his room, and he's like, "What are you doing? Get out!" It's hysterical. Rey Mysterio gets thrown off the Titan Tower. Come on.
You bring this up at least once.
But the biggest thing is the tribal chief doesn't happen.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure he doesn't happen because he had to go. He was supposed to be at that year's Mania, but with his leukemia, he couldn't. So
yeah, he had to leave.
He left. He went away,
and then he came back.
And then he came back as the tribal chief.
That's a very good point.
Because he came back with Heyman.
I just figured financially, from a standpoint, it destroyed the company.
I mean, it destroyed everything. It killed Ring of Honor. It killed TNA.
Yeah. Wow, no tribal chief. That's huge. That's huge. There would be no main event Jey Uso.
There'd be no main event Jey Uso. There'd be no Solo. No Tom.
There'd probably still be Solo.
There'd be an NXT Solo.
Yeah.
There'd be no WWE Solo or no WWE Jacob. I don't think. I think the Tongans are staying in New Japan.
Well, Jacob would probably eventually come anyways.
Maybe.
Look how talented he is. Who the hell would have won him?
I know that. He's been in MLW for fucking ever. I've been saying for years he should have came up.
No bloodline though.
There's no bloodline there. That whole story's gone.
That's huge. Wow. That one kind of blew my mind.
Yeah, I'm telling you. Yeah.
All right, I got one. I don't know how much you asked me this one.
Oh, okay. Because I feel like this is more you than it is me.
It is, but I want to hear your opinion.
I don't know if I have one.
When Evolution started, we had Ric Flair, Triple H, Randy Orton, and Batista. Now, the original plans for Evolution were Orton, Triple H, Flair, and Mark Jindrak. What if Mark Jindrak stayed in Evolution and Batista never got a chance?
We get Deacon Batista for longer than we did, I'll tell you that.
Well, he could take my money anytime he wanted, that's for sure. Jeez. Would Batista have had the world...
No.
The world titles that he's had?
No, and Jindrak, you can't... I don't think Jindrak would have had the same story if you're just switching him and Batista. He's not doing the thumbs up, thumbs down. He's not going against Hunter.
He's not putting up banger matches.
He's not putting up banger matches.
Eddie and Ray and stuff.
Because he was more of a... Well, he was a tag guy. He was a tag team guy.
Yeah.
Because I was Jindrak and O'Hare.
From Dea, WCW?
Yeah.
Is there?
I don't know. I think he gets kicked out of Evolution, but not for winning the Rumble, not for main eventing a Mania.
For being like a...
He gets kicked out of the Rumble because...
drag us down.
Yeah, the fans are turning on... The fans love Evolution, but they're turning on him. They're like, boo, like, what is he doing in here? He sucks. Get him out of here. He gets kicked out of Evolution because he's not working. He's not working as the story wants him, as like backstage wants him to work.
Kind of like when Manu joined the Legacy.
Right, and it wasn't working out like they thought it was going to be, and they just got rid of him. They just made him disappear.
I like that.
I don't know if they fill that spot or they just go to 3-man.
Now, we both know that Batista and Orton are insanely talented.
Right.
But they did definitely get a push for being with Flair and Triple H.
100% got a push for being with them.
And I know you're not a huge Batista fan. I
don't know why I'm not. I don't have a reason as to why.
But I love Batista and Orton because I love Evolution. That's
right. I loved Orton before Evolution because I remember he had like the broken arm and he would come for the Orton report of like, I'm 20% better this week. I'm 35% better this week. Somebody said they want Liv to do that, and I was like, that's just dumb. I'm like, but if it keeps her on the screen, it keeps her on the screen.
Oh my God. Well, Kleenex, you're about to go.
So I have one more major one, but I have two funny ones. I kind of want to do the funny ones before the big one because the big one's probably going to be.
You want to do some funny ones?
Yeah, the big one's going to be a long talk. I feel like we might have this one together. What if Eddie really is Dom's dad? It would all make sense. It would all make sense.
I don't know if it's a what if.
I don't know if it's a what if, honestly.
To be honest with you.
It might be a real thing.
One of my funny ones kind of ties into that a little bit.
Oh, shit.
What if Eddie was his dad? What if Dominic Mysterio never got arrested?
Oh.
What if he never did Hard Time?
Oh, what if he never did Hard Time? You don't get mullet Dom.
You wouldn't have Dirty Dom.
No, you wouldn't have Dirty Dom.
No. The guy who shaped my prison.
For the 4 hours he was there.
Listen, that was a long time, okay? That was a long time.
Why did he... So... Oh, because he showed up at his parents' house. Yeah. Slapped shit out of his mom.
That was dad. I think he pushed his numbers down. I don't think he slapped.
No, his mom slapped Rhea.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just trying to see if there's a way somehow he goes back with his dad, but I don't see a way.
I have another funny one.
What
if Isaac Yankum's dental career took off?
Shit.
And he went down that route.
We're never getting Brothers of Destruction.
And never became Kane.
Oh.
Or I could also say, what if Undertaker
was the gobbledygooker?
No. What if young Undertaker never lit his house on fire?
Oh. Yeah.
Kane would never be burnt.
There'd
be no mask.
There'd also be no, was it September? No, what the hell day they was talking about that you can't talk about?
Oh, I can't think of the day.
I want to say it's September something, but I don't think it is.
I don't know.
What if Kofi never dropped his accent? Is he a New Day walking around going, Bumbaclat? I love when Punk came back and said, yo man, I don't do that no more.
Maybe. You never know. You never know in that situation.
I can't think of any more funny ones. I mean, what if Undertaker was the gobbledygooker?
Yeah, Undertaker thought. I mean, true story. Undertaker really thought he was going to be the gobbledygooker.
I mean, yeah, that's not a good one.
No, if he never answered his phone.
What if he never answered his phone? What if he did? And when Vince went, "Is this the Undertaker?" and he's like, "No, this is Mark."
And he just hung up on him.
No, this is Mark. I don't bury dead people.
What if Katie Vick didn't have an open casket?
Oh my God,
that was messed up.
All right, so do you have any more?
Terrible.
Do we have any more before we go over the big one? I think
that was a terrible storyline. What if the Godfather had morals?
Nah, that's not possible.
What if Rob Van Dam was sober?
Oh, you know what? Here's a good one. What if Yesomania didn't get over?
Oh, that would have just been... I told you so from Vince, that you're not good enough.
I think he's gone way before he did. He left.
Yeah.
I think... Does he get with Brie? I don't think he gets with Brie.
Yes. Nikki's the one that, you know.
Oh, I know. Yeah, that's a good thing. What if Yesomania never got over the...
Can't even sit next to you right now.
No, you can't. It's getting... What else do you have? Do you have any more?
Do I have any more?
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't.
All right, cool.
How many do you have?
So let's go over the big one then.
Oh, we're doing the big one?
Yeah. What if Hall and Nash never left? I'm going through this, and there's so many ripple effects to this one.
So, if Hall and Nash never left, there would be no curtain call.
Which is what you wanted to do. You wanted to do what if there was no curtain call?
Yeah. But I know this meant a lot to you. So
I don't know why it meant a lot to me, but when I thought of it, I was just like, but there'd be no curtain call. That's the first thing.
There would be no curtain call. Therefore, there would be no punishments.
Well,
Triple H...
Shawn didn't get punished.
No, but Triple H did.
Triple H wouldn't have got punished.
Triple H would have won King of the Ring.
Triple H would have won King of the Ring.
Stone Cold would not have won King of the Ring.
Correct.
And that was the King of the Ring where Stone Cold cut his most famous promo when he was going from the Stone Cold that was working with Ted DiBiase
to
Austin 316.
Austin 316, so that whooped your ass.
So...
And that's the bottom line.
We would not have any of that.
Nope.
we would not have WCW beating WWE in the ratings.
Nope. I didn't even put that one down, but we wouldn't have that either.
Because as important Hogan was to the NWO, Hall and Nash showing up, everybody acting like they didn't know who the hell they were. Oh my God, they're from the other company. From the jump. Got to give Bischoff credit, man. That was an amazing story.
You know who I am, but you don't know why I'm here. Like, that made you want to watch the next week.
Bischoff played it up so good that like these guys were really invading. So you wouldn't have the NWO what it was.
I don't think you have NWO, period.
You wouldn't have the Monday Night Wars. Man, there's a lot of ripple effects that go to that.
So I don't think you'd have DX. I don't think you have NWO or DX. I think so. We basically have everything together. The only other thing I added, I think Hunter doesn't become Triple H, DX Triple H with the. I know this is way after, but the leather jacket, jean jacket, Triple H. I think he stays snobby Hunter Hearst Helmsley. I don't think the DX Triple H ever comes out. I just think they're the click on camera, just like they are backstage.
So, I think. Well, DX wouldn't have happened.
No, DX
because DX happened because
of NWO.
Because he was not only because of NWO.
Because
they were.
I remember the interview with JR where he like snapped midway through the interview, and that's when like Triple H came out.
Well, Triple H was punished, obviously, and he was in like not so great things. So backstage, obviously, them being part of the clique, Sean would come up with. Sean and Hunter was coming up with these ideas because Triple H thought that the Hunter Hearst Helmsley gimmick was getting old, and then eventually they kind of got it to a point where, hey, let's try something. Let's try let's try
Triple H.
But for WWE to make that turn, sorry, I have a mosquito bite on my leg. This looks a little weird. Man, it's still fucking
I think they become the click on camera. Nash, Hall, X-Pac, Shawn Michaels, Triple H. They don't become DX, they become the click. And do stuff that NWO did and do stuff that DX did.
See, that actually kind of would have been cool.
But I don't think Hunter goes from Hunter Hearst Helmsley to Triple H. I think he stays Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
Or he can go to Triple H and just still be like
I don't know because I think
if they
I think he stays the New Haven snobby Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
I think if they stayed the clique, they would have dropped the gimmicks.
Okay,
it wouldn't have been the Heartbreak Kid.
No,
it would have been Razor Ramon. It would have been Diesel.
So it would have been Kevin Nash, Scott Hall.
Still would have been HBK. I mean, he wouldn't have been coming out in the assless chaps.
He wouldn't have been. I can't think of his real name for whatever reason. All of a sudden,
Hickenbottom.
Yeah, it wouldn't be Hickenbottom. Wouldn't be coming out.
No.
Paul Levesque wouldn't be.
I think they would have changed it to Triple H just to shorten it, and sound cooler. But like he wouldn't have dressed like the snob, but I don't think he would have dressed like the Triple H.
Yeah.
I think they would have just kind of wore clothes, like maybe their t-shirts and jeans,
right?
Or like shit that they wore like outside,
right?
Which kind of actually would have been really cool. A clique takeover. Not an NWO.
Not an NWO. Not a D. I mean, DX never really took over like NWO did.
No, but DX was.
But they caused problems.
Vince would never have greenlighted DX, like I was saying before.
If NWO wasn't for NWO. Right, if it wasn't for NWO.
Because if he got to a point where they bothered him so much and they were just like, go whatever.
Because
Vince would yell at them every time they went out there because they pushed a boundary. But then Vince would stop. He yelled at them and then he would be yelling at them less and less when they saw the viewership go up and up. And then eventually Vince was just like, whatever,
do it.
Just do it.
Because when I wrote down the what if Hall and Nash never left, I didn't write bullet points, and then I'm going, oh, another what if is, what if Stone Cold didn't win the King of the Ring? And I went, oh shit, that's part of the Hall and Nash not leaving. Oh shit, this other thing is part of the Hall and Nash not leaving. Hall and Nash leaving, not leaving, changes the timeline.
Okay, so here's something that you didn't even mention either. Hall and Nash leaving and going to WCW is what started WCW handing out guaranteed contracts.
I didn't know that.
That was the start because they took the money. They went over there and
took
took the
because
money,
that was the first thing.
For.
The first thing Nash always talks about is Hall left because Hall said he's getting more money, and they're literally they've I mean, rest his peace, he's not here anymore. But Hall and Nash have always said we're only in it for the money. We could care less about the wrestling.
But that was the start of the guaranteed contract. So that was the downfall. Essentially, this will blow your mind if you really think about this. The biggest moment in wrestling history, one of top 3. We'll say top 3.
Those two leaving.
Those two leaving, going to WCW, NWO forms. One of the insane factions of all time. WWE Attitude Era, one of the best eras of all time. But
we don't get the Attitude Era.
No, I don't think so.
No.
But them going over there, guaranteed contracts, more money, which was the best surprise moment of all time, led to their downfall. What put them on top and beat WWE? Because they not only them, they kept giving it to everyone else after that. So the money, they put themselves out.
Yeah.
Yeah, WWF eventually took over the ratings, but you saw for how many weeks? They beat WWF in
86, 83, whatever. We always forget it wrong. Always forget it wrong.
And they never put them out of business.
Right. They never put it. They just overtook them for a little bit.
It's the money. It's the guaranteed contracts. It's all that stuff. Everybody wanting... it's not only that. It was in the contracts they had creative control. So how are you going to book a wrestler when they can overturn?
When they can be like, no, I'm not doing that. Right.
Not going to work for me, brother.
They've always talked about Hogan having creative control in WCW.
So one of the most pivotal moments in wrestling history, one of the most inspirational, one of the most talked about moments ever, the NWO, Hall and Nash leaving,
never happens,
was the downfall of WCW.
But even if they never left, I still think WCW has a downfall.
I think they do, but I don't think it would be as rapid.
No, it wouldn't be as rapid. It would take...
Because
10 more years.
Nothing against Hall and Nash, but I think they would have just threw that money at the next big stars whose contract was up. So maybe a Undertaker, maybe a Shawn Michaels, maybe even Bret Hart would have been treated a little differently.
What if the Montreal Screwjob never happened?
Let's go back on that, because I thought about this and I didn't write it down. The Montreal Screwjob, obviously, if you're a wrestling fan and don't know what that is, go lay down.
What's your problem?
What if Alundra Blaze throwing away the title on TV never happened, because that is what they were afraid was going to happen with Bret.
Yeah. Shit.
Let's go back in time. If that never happened, I don't think the Montreal Screwjob would have happened.
You might be right.
Maybe they would have just gave Bret what he wanted and then have him drop the title, but they thought he was going to take it with him.
Well, no, he was supposed to drop the title on like Raw or something, like the next night, and he was like, "No, I'm not."
Yeah, but he was refusing to lose the title there, so he couldn't just...
He didn't want to lose the title in Canada. That's what it was.
He could have just no-showed that Raw and just went to WCW.
Right.
Kind of like what Blaze did.
I didn't think about that one. That's a good one.
Yeah, see, I love this stuff.
There's a lot more what ifs we could probably think of.
There's a lot. We gotta have a part 2 of what ifs.
We absolutely have a part 2. We're gonna have a part 2 because you guys are gonna put down below what ifs. Funny. They can be serious ones. They can be funny ones. We like the funny ones, obviously. But definitely put down below like if there's some we didn't think of. I was trying to think of. I told him. I was trying to think of other company ones.
What if we could see John Cena?
What if we could see Little Jimmy?
We can't see either of them.
I was trying to think of other company ones, which is why I was going to do the what if like Ring of Honor had a normal time slot too, but I didn't want to like repeat I feel like the New Japan was the bigger than the Ring
of
Honor.
In honor of Al Snow, what if everybody didn't want Head?
There's something wrong with everybody.
I'm just saying, but Head would not be there.
What if beer was never a thing? What would Sandman bash on his forehead?
What if Moppy was self-sufficient?
Oh my God!
And Perry Saturn didn't have a friend?
What if Moppy was like Shiloh Hill's Beast and started doing stuff on his own? Winning. But on that note,
what if Kai and Ty could say more than one word?
I didn't know that was Shane McMahon.
Other than Indeed.
I didn't know that was Shane McMahon.
Oh yeah, that was.
I saw a TikTok the other day and I was like, I used to look. Indeed.
Why are all the smartass ones just coming to us now?
Because that's what we do. We turn this on and then we think of all the dumb ones.
Is there any more of that?
There's gotta be. What if... This isn't a smartass one.
What if it was Gene Snitsky's fault?
Oh. He was just on CBV the other night. I didn't watch
that.
What if TNA never dropped the 6-sided ring?
What if someone made an 8-sided ring?
Isn't that what UFC is?
The octagon, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a ring, it's a cage, though.
It's the same thing.
You're not going to bounce off a cage like you would off
They do! You've never seen some of the old UFC matches? What if NXT UK never fell through? It didn't fall through.
That'd be sick.
They kind of just combined
You think
it.
they would have been able to talk Will Ospreay into joining that?
No.
NXT UK was nothing like the American version.
Yeah, but no. I don't think he wants anything to do with Hunter. Anything to do with
This
Hunter.
was way before all that stuff.
Yeah, still no.
Before he started crying.
Because he
about
was friends with Gunther.
The whole thing is
he
he
was
didn't want to
friends
go.
with Dragunov.
He didn't want to come over here. But what if he had a chance to stay there?
I don't know. He could have. He was in New Japan then. He could have went to NXT.
They convinced Gunther to come over here. At first, he didn't want to. He wanted to stay over there.
I know. I don't think he's joining UK.
You never know.
I don't know. He could, because he would have. He could have. He was friends with a lot of them.
What if Eddie Guerrero didn't lie, cheat, or steal?
And nobody would love him.
No.
He's not coming out on the lower either.
No.
He's not doing any of that. He wouldn't be the GOAT. He wouldn't have his mamacita.
No, mamacita.
Mamacita.
Dino E, huh?
I think on that note, we gotta get out of here.
Once we start trying to speak in other languages,
that's what the hell?
I don't know.
I had a comment, but I'm not bringing it up.
What?
So, yeah, like I said, if you guys have any what if that we didn't, even just now, if we didn't think about, you want to throw it down below. What if Pat McAfee never got over?
What if Pat McAfee never did that? I wouldn't have something to do
What
with
if Corey Graves never flipped out about going to NXT?
What if JR never made barbecue sauce?
I've never had it, so I don't know.
I don't know. And so what I always talked about.
We have to try it. Put down any what if below that.
What if Jerry Lawler was allergic to puppies?
I was gonna say what if he's a cat man, but that's even worse.
I don't know. I could sit here all day and just come up with stupid ones. I'm not gonna lie to you.
What if the what never got over?
What if Seth Rollins didn't have 20/20 vision? He couldn't be the visionary.
All right, yeah, now we're done. So we'll see you guys for next week's episode of the podcast. Like I said, if you got any what ifs we didn't talk about or you can think about, put them down below. We'll either talk about them next week or we're definitely going to do a part 2 once we figure out more. Like, what if Seth Rollins was actually a good wrestler? Go ahead, say it. Go ahead. I know he's not a good wrestler. Go ahead, say it. No. I know he's only got 5 moves. It's fine. I understand.
Seth Rollins isn't. I agree with you, actually. Seth Rollins isn't a good wrestler.
He's not a great wrestler either. So don't
Seth Rollins is a GOAT.
All right. On that note, we'll see you guys next week. No. Yeah, later. Bye. We're done. We're out. Bye.